Darren Hale stood near the glass wall of Aurora Spire's main hall, waiting for his team to finish their presentation setup. The station floated above a glowing nebula, and the colors outside the window shifted like slow-moving paint. He tried to focus on his datapad, but his attention kept drifting toward the noise of the interspecies technology showcase behind him. Every species on the station seemed to be there, showing off their newest inventions, tools, or strange organic devices. Darren enjoyed these events, but this time he felt slightly out of place. He was only a junior engineer, and most people around him were decorated scientists or high-ranking diplomats. His eyes wandered across the room again, taking in the different colors, shapes, and movements. Some species were tall with floating limbs, others tiny and fast, and some so mechanical that they looked almost like machines. But one figure stood out more than the rest. She was tall, graceful, and had calm blue skin that glowed with soft bioluminescent lines. The lines moved slowly under her skin, almost like flowing liquid light. She was a Thalrendi, a species known for biotechnology that grew like living plants or coral. Darren had seen Thalrendi before, always impressive, always elegant, but this one was different. She stood at the center of her demonstration circle, speaking in a quiet but confident voice. A large organic device floated behind her, held up by gentle pulses of light. Its surface shifted with patterns, reacting to her hand signals. She seemed to guide it like a musician guiding a song. Darren felt himself watching her without thinking about anything else. Her movements were soft, controlled, and almost hypnotic. The glow on her skin changed with her mood, making her appear like she was part of the device she commanded. Darren told himself to look away, but he kept zoning out, drawn by the strange beauty of the bioluminescent patterns. He wasn't thinking about her appearance in a personal way, he was simply fascinated by something so alien, so naturally advanced, that he couldn't help staring. He didn't even notice when she finished her demonstration. The audience applauded, and the organic device gently folded into itself, forming a compact sphere that floated beside her. Darren only snapped back to reality when he realized she was turning her head. Her glowing eyes slowly moved across the room until they stopped exactly where he was standing. His heart jumped. She was looking directly at him. Before he could look away, she began walking toward him. Her steps were silent, almost like she was gliding. Darren panicked for a moment. Had he been rude? Do Thalrendi get offended when someone stares? He tried to stand straight, pretending he had been looking at something else, but his nerves were obvious. She stopped right in front of him, her expression calm and unreadable. The glowing lines on her skin shifted again, like soft waves. "So you like what you see?" she asked. Her tone wasn't angry. It wasn't even teasing, it was simply curious, as if she was asking him to confirm a scientific observation. Darren froze for a second. His mouth opened, but no words came out. His brain felt like someone had removed all the useful parts and left only embarrassment behind. I'm sorry," he finally said. "I didn't mean to stare. I was just thinking." Her eyes studied him, but not in a harsh way. She seemed more interested in his reaction than in his apology. "Thinking," she repeated. "That is good. Humans often think in unexpected directions. I wondered why you were so focused." Darren rubbed the back of his neck, still nervous. "Your demonstration was amazing. I've never seen organic tech react so smoothly." The glowing lines on her skin brightened slightly. Darren guessed it meant she was pleased. "Thank you. Many species find our methods strange. But you did not look confused. You looked curious." She tilted her head slightly, examining him with the same steady gaze she used for her experiment earlier. Darren felt small under that attention, but not in a bad way. It was like being observed by someone who actually wanted to understand him. "My name is Serenia Thalren," she said. "Darren Hale," he replied quickly. "Junior engineer. Well, assistant engineer. Still learning." Serenia seemed to consider his words. "Learning is good. Most wise people choose to keep learning even when they are old. Learning is good, learning is good." He laughed nervously. I hope so. Reezing, Serenia glanced at her floating organic device, then back at him. You watched the device closely. That tells me you noticed something. Come. Before he could react, she gestured for him to follow and walked back to her demonstration area. Darren hesitated for only a second before going after her. His team would probably wonder where he went, but this moment was too strange and too interesting to ignore. The organic sphere hovered quietly beside her, shifting its patterns like breathing light. She placed her hand on its surface, and the lights inside it pulsed. This device is not responding correctly, she said. Something small is interfering with its reaction time. I felt your attention during the demonstration. Tell me what you saw. Darren stared at the device. He wasn't sure why she assumed he had noticed anything at all. But he took a slow breath and tried to focus like he did when working in the engineering bays. The sphere rotated slightly, revealing tiny surface folds. There, he said after a moment. That fold. It's moving slower than the others. Like something stuck or misaligned. Serenia's eyes widened a little, not dramatically, but enough that Darren could tell she was surprised. She placed her hand over the area he pointed to. The bioluminescent light on her skin shifted again, this time in a softer pattern. The device responded, opening like a flower to reveal its inner structure. You are correct, she said quietly. It is a mechanical blockage. Our scanners missed it. You use biological scanners, right? Darren asked. They're precise, but maybe too precise. They expect predictable patterns. Humans look for mistakes. Serenia watched him with growing interest. You think differently from us, Darren shrugged. Humans are good at noticing when something is wrong, even if we don't know why. We kind of guess until something makes sense. Instinct, she said. You trust instinct. Sometimes, he replied with a small smile. Other times, we trust luck. Serenia seemed to enjoy that answer. Luck. Humans use that word often. She took a small tool from her kit, a living organism shaped like a thin vine, and guided it into the open part of the sphere. The device responded immediately, cleaning the blockage and repairing itself. Serenia nodded with satisfaction. You helped, she said. Thank you. Darren Hale. It was just an observation, he said. Observations matter, she answered. You are young, but you see things even my people do not. Her calm voice made the compliment feel even stronger. Darren tried not to look too proud, but inside he felt a warm rush of excitement. People around the hall were already whispering. A human engineer working with a Thalrendi scientist was rare, especially one as respected as Serenia. But she didn't seem to care what anyone thought. She continued observing the repaired device, then looked at him again. You watched me before, she said. You stared, but you did not look away in fear or confusion. Why? Darren felt his face warm again. Honestly, I was fascinated. Your species controls technology like it's alive. It's beautiful. Not in a personal way. More like watching art. Serenia studied him again, the light on her skin shifting gently. Art. That is acceptable. He let out a quiet breath of relief. She moved closer to him, still calm and curious. You may observe again, she said, if you wish. I will show you more of our work. Humans learn quickly, and I want to understand your way of thinking. Darren blinked, surprised. You want me to help? I want you to see, she replied. Helping is optional. He didn't know what to say. A simple moment of accidental staring had turned into a strange, unexpected opportunity. Serenia Thalren, an advanced scientist from one of the galaxy's most respected species, wanted him to work beside her. I'd be honored, he said finally. Serenia gave a small nod, as if approving his answer. Good. Then stay close. There is much to learn. And for the first time that day, Darren felt like he was exactly where he was meant to be. Darren returned to the research wing earlier than usual the next day. He had barely slept, thinking about the strange encounter he had with Serenia Thalren. It wasn't every day that a young human engineer ended up working beside a respected Thalrendi scientist. Even his team members were whispering when they heard the news. Some congratulated him, others looked confused, and a few thought he must have misunderstood, but Darren wasn't mistaken. Serenia had invited him to join her work, and she wasn't someone who spoke casually. When he reached the lab, the doors opened with a soft pulse of blue light. Thalrendi technology responded to emotion and identity. So the doors recognized him from the day before. That alone made him uneasy. He wasn't used to doors that felt who you were. Still, he stepped inside, trying not to overthink the way the organic panels on the walls shifted under his feet. Serenia stood in the center of the room, surrounded by floating screens made of living light. She didn't turn immediately when he entered, but she spoke in her calm voice. "You are early." Darren smiled awkwardly. "I didn't want to be late." She turned toward him, the glowing lines on her skin moving in slow waves. "Punctuality is efficient," she said. "Efficiency is good. Humans rarely arrive early." "We try," he said, shrugging. She stepped closer and handed him a small device. It was warm and soft, like holding a shell that breathed. Darren tried not to react too strongly. Thalrendi objects always felt alive. "This is a translator node," she explained. "It will allow you to understand our biological signals during the experiment." He clipped it to his wrist, and the device wrapped around his skin gently, adjusting itself. "It's comfortable," he said. "It senses your blood flow and adapts," she replied. He tried not to imagine how many tiny living systems were inside it. Serenia guided him to a workspace where a new organic structure grew inside a half-opened pod. The shape changed slowly, forming ridges and valleys. It looked delicate, yet complex. "This is a biomechanical core," Serenia said. "It listens to energy patterns, but it is unstable today. You helped before. I want you to observe again." Darren nodded and leaned forward, studying the core. He noticed something immediately, though he wasn't sure how to explain it. The patterns on the surface were moving, but there was a strange pause every few cycles. Humans didn't have biological scanners like the Thalrendi, but Darren trusted his instincts. "The rhythm is off," he said, "almost like it's hesitating." Serenia looked at him, impressed. "Yes, you see it faster than expected." He felt a small rush of pride. "Maybe. The stabilizer is too balanced. Humans build things with slight irregularities. That kind of makes them stronger." "Chaos," Serenia said with thoughtful interest. "You believe chaos improves stability?" "Sometimes," he said. "Small imperfections help systems adapt. If something is too perfect, it breaks when something unexpected happens." Serenia placed her hand on the core, sending soft waves of light into it. The device responded, changing shape slightly. "You think the core needs imperfection?" she asked. "Controlled imperfection," he said carefully. "Not broken. Just..." Serenia gave a slow nod. "Your mind works strangely, Darren Hale." He laughed. "That's the nicest way someone has ever said, 'I'm weird.'" She didn't understand the joke at first, but the glowing lines on her skin brightened in a way that suggested amusement. Darren realized he was beginning to understand her expressions more clearly. Serenia extended her hand toward him. "Would you like to adjust the core?" His heart skipped. Her people rarely allowed outsiders to touch their technology, let alone modify it. "Are you sure?" "Yes," she said simply. "Your method may solve the instability. And I want to observe your process." He reached forward carefully. The core was warm and almost heartbeat-like under his fingers. The translator node on his wrist vibrated softly, allowing him to sense the internal signals. He made small adjustments, purposely unbalancing one of the repeating patterns. The core reacted instantly, stabilizing like a plant straightening in sunlight. Serenia leaned closer. "Remarkable," she whispered. "For you to know this without training." "It was a guess," Darren said. "A successful guess," she replied. "Humans guess well." He wasn't sure if that was praise or an observation, but Serenia looked genuinely impressed. They continued working together for hours, checking signals, adjusting patterns, and comparing human engineering with Thalrendi biotechnology. Darren learned that Serenia had a very structured, logical style. Everything she did had a steady rhythm. He, on the other hand, worked more instinctively, sometimes surprising even himself. At one point, she paused and watched him. "Human minds move like rivers," she said, "changing shape constantly. I find it interesting." "I guess we're unpredictable," he said. "Unpredictable," she repeated. "Yes. Sometimes unpredictable is valuable." They shared a moment of quiet understanding before returning to the core. As they worked, more Thalrendi scientists began to notice Darren's presence. Some looked curious, others cautious. Humans were respected for their resilience, but they weren't usually invited into high-level Thalrendi biotech projects. Darren felt their eyes on him, but Serenia never hesitated. She showed no concern about how unusual their partnership looked. At one point, a senior Thalrendi researcher approached them. His bioluminescent lines glowed in sharper patterns, showing mild disapproval. "Serenia," he said, "you are giving human insight too much influence. Their methods lack precision." Serenia turned to face him. "Their methods lack our limits." The researcher frowned. "They are chaotic. They adapt," Serenia replied calmly. "And adaptation is what our work requires right now." The researcher studied Darren with curious suspicion. Then he slowly stepped back, giving a respectful nod to Serenia. She nodded back, then returned to her work as if nothing unusual had happened. Darren whispered, "Should I be worried?" "No," she said. "They are surprised, that is all. You do not need to fear surprise." "Humans fear all kinds of things," he admitted. She looked at him with interest. "But you came here anyway." "Well," Darren said with a small smile, "I didn't want to disappoint you." "If you wants to disappoint you," end quote. The glowing lines on her skin softened again. "You have not." The day continued with more tests and observations. Serenia introduced Darren to more Thalrendi tools, each stranger than the last. Some resembled glowing vines, others soft shells, some even moved on their own. Darren tried to understand the logic behind each one, and Serenia patiently explained their purpose. As the evening approached, Serenia walked with him to the exit of the research wing. The hall outside was busy again, filled with diplomats and scientists preparing for the next day's showcase. Darren felt tired but satisfied. He had learned more in one day with Serenia than he had in months of regular training. Serenia stopped walking and turned to him. "You did well today." "Thanks," he said. "I still feel like I'm learning everything from the start." "That is good," she replied. "New minds bring new paths." They both looked toward the large window showing the nebula outside. The colors shifted like slow fire. "You know," Darren said softly, "I never thought a Thalrendi would even talk to me. And now I'm working beside one of their best." Serenia considered his words. "You watched me yesterday because of curiosity," she said. "I approached you because of curiosity as well." He laughed. "So we're both curious." "Yes," she said. "Curiosity is the start of many strong connections." Her meaning was calm and literal. Thalrendi viewed collaboration as a bond of minds, not emotions. But something about her tone still made Darren feel warm inside. Before she left, she added, "Be ready tomorrow. The next device will need both our skills." "I'll be here," Darren said. When Serenia walked away, the bioluminescent patterns on her skin faded slowly like distant stars. Darren watched her for a moment, not zoning out this time but thinking deeply. Something important was forming between them, a partnership built on trust, learning, and strange mutual respect. And although he didn't know it yet, this partnership would soon be tested in ways neither species had ever faced. The next 2 days passed peacefully on Aurora Spire. But Darren could feel a strange tension in the air. The station was always busy, always filled with new visitors. But recently people were moving with more caution. Engineers checked systems twice, security officers walked in pairs, and even the Thalrendi scientists moved with unusual seriousness. Something was happening behind the scenes, but no one spoke openly about it. Darren tried to focus on his work with Serenia. They continued improving the biomechanical core, testing new hybrid patterns, and comparing human logic with Thalrendi structure. Serenia seemed even more focused than usual, but she didn't explain why. Her bioluminescent lines stayed dim, not sad, just deep in concentration. On the third morning, Darren walked into the research wing and immediately sensed something was wrong. The glowing organic walls normally pulsed in slow rhythm, but today their movements were fast and uneven, as if reacting to discomfort. Several Thalrendi scientists stood near the main console, speaking in their soft language, but their patterns flashed sharply, an obvious sign of alarm. Serenia stood at the center of the group. When she saw Darren, she walked toward him with steady steps, but her voice carried tension. "You arrived at the correct time. We have a problem." "What happened?" Darren asked quickly. She gestured for him to follow. The group parted as Serenia led him to the main display, where a large holographic shape floated above the table. It looked like a dark, twisted mass attached to the outer hull of the station. "This organism appeared 2 hours ago," Serenia explained. "It drifted from deep space and latched onto Aurora Spire. We identified it as a void parasite." Darren frowned. "Parasite? Like, alive?" "Yes," she said. "Very alive. And it feeds on energy. It is draining the station." Darren's stomach dropped. "That sounds bad." "It is worse than bad," Serenia said calmly. "If it is not removed soon, the entire station will lose power." Darren looked at the dark shape on the hologram. The parasite seemed to pulse, spreading thin tendrils across the hull like a living shadow. "What have you tried so far?" he asked. "Biological shields," Serenia said. "They failed. The parasite absorbed them." "What about mechanical force?" "Human engineers tried using cutters," she replied. "But the cutting beams fed the creature faster. Anything that gives energy makes it stronger." Darren swallowed. "So it's absorbing everything." "Yes, and it is growing. Soon it will reach the life support conduits. The station could not survive without those." Darren felt a cold wave rush through him. "What are we going to do?" Serenia looked at him with a steady expression. "We must use both our methods, human and Thalrendi, together." He blinked, surprised. "You want me to help with this? This is a station-level emergency." "Yes," Serenia said firmly. "Your thinking is different. And we need different." Darren didn't argue further. If Serenia believed his presence mattered, then he would trust her judgment. She walked with him into the secondary lab, where several strange organic devices floated in the air. Some were glowing brightly, others twisting into new shapes. The room felt alive, but also tense. Serenia placed her hand on a biopanel, showing a diagram of the parasite's structure. "It feeds on pure energy," she explained. "Your people use electromagnetic pulses. Ours use bioluminescent traps. Alone, they fail. Together, they might confuse the organism." Darren studied the diagram. "Confuse it how?" "Overwhelm its senses," she said. "If it receives 2 different signals, one mechanical, one biological, it may detach." Darren rubbed his chin, thinking. "So, mix a human energy device with one of your traps?" "Yes." Serenia stepped closer. "You understand. It's worth trying," he said. "But we'll need to be fast. If the parasite senses danger, it might attack the station's systems." Serenia nodded. "Then, we begin." They worked side by side, just like in the earlier days. But this time, the pressure was heavy. Serenia grew an organic shell that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. Designed to lure the parasite, Darren connected electromagnetic coils to the inside, adjusting the power levels to produce irregular pulses. Something messy. Something no Thalrendi would design. At one point, Serenia watched him attach a wire in a way that looked wrong to her. "That connection is unstable," she said. "It's supposed to be unstable," Darren replied. "If it's too clean, the parasite will predict it. Humans survive because nothing we build works perfectly." Serenia paused, then nodded slowly. Your imperfection may save us. They continued working, the minutes passing faster and faster. Outside the lab, alarms began to sound in distant corridors. The parasite was growing again. Finally, after intense work, the hybrid device was ready. It looked like a glowing sphere wrapped in mechanical wires, both beautiful and messy. Serenia held it carefully, her blue skin shining with determination. Come, she said. We must place it on the hull before the parasite reaches the life support panels. Darren followed her toward the emergency airlock. Engineers and diplomats hurried past them, some shouting orders, others calling for updates. The tension was rising across the entire station. When they reached the outer walkway, the view took Darren's breath away. The stars glowed above them, and below the walkway lay the parasite, an enormous black shape attached to the hull. It pulsed like a beating heart, sending dark waves through the metal. It's huge, Darren whispered. Yes, Serenia said quietly. But still alive, and alive things can be confused. They stepped closer, careful not to touch the spreading tendrils. Serenia placed the hybrid device on the hull near the parasite. The bioluminescent patterns activated, glowing brighter and brighter. The electromagnetic coils clicked into life, sending unpredictable pulses. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the parasite reacted. The dark mass twisted violently, pulling its tendrils away from the hull. Its surface rippled like boiling ink. The hybrid device glowed brighter, releasing alternating biological light and mechanical pulses. The parasite writhed again, confused by the conflicting signals. It tried to move toward the light, then away from it, then toward it again. It's working, Darren said breathlessly. Serenia's glowing patterns brightened. Increase the human pulse. Increase the human pulse. Darren adjusted the control panel. The pulses became sharper, more irregular. The parasite shuddered. Suddenly, it lifted itself from the hull. It's detaching! Darren shouted. The creature let out a silent vibration that shook the walkway. Then, with one final twist, it separated completely and drifted into space like a dark balloon carried by the star winds. As soon as it was far enough, the device shut itself down. Darren let out a long breath. We did it. Serenia placed her hand on the walkway rail, watching the drifting creature disappear into the distance. We did. The station lights slowly returned to stable brightness as power levels normalized. Engineers cheered from the safety platform. A group of diplomats applauded from a distance, their relief obvious. Serenia turned to Darren, her expression calm but warm. Humans surprise me, she said softly. You faced danger without hesitation. I just followed your lead, Darren said, though he knew that wasn't the whole truth. No, Serenia said. You followed your instinct, and it saved us. Darren looked at her, feeling a deep sense of pride. We saved the station together. Yes, she said. Together. They stood on the walkway a moment longer, watching the stars. The danger had passed, but something new had formed between them, a bond stronger than before. Built under pressure, shaped by fear and trust. Darren didn't know what the next days would bring, but he knew one thing clearly. This partnership between human and Thalrendi was no accident. It was the start of something greater. The station felt different the next morning. The long corridors that usually hummed with echoing footsteps now held a heavy silence. Like everyone was waiting for something to happen. Rian walked slowly toward the research deck where Jara and the others were already working. His mind was still full of the strange images he had seen inside the alien beacon, and the challenge it had given him. He kept thinking about it every few minutes, wondering if he really understood the message. It was not a warning, not a map, and not a weapon. It was something else entirely. Something that felt bigger than anything humans or Zyrans had ever held. When he entered the lab, Jara looked up, her silver blue eyes watching him carefully. She did not smile this time, but her expression was calm, almost too calm, as if she had been waiting to see what he looked like after the night's thoughts. She walked toward him slowly, her steps silent as always. You did not sleep much, she said. Not really, he answered. My head keeps replaying everything. It will stop only when we finish this, she said. And it seems the others feel the same. Rian looked past her. Kex was busy connecting 2 data cores while muttering to himself. Lyra was typing fast, her eyebrows raised in deep concentration. Captain Saren stood with folded arms near the main display, staring at a large hologram of the inner system. No one looked relaxed. No one looked tired either. They all looked ready. Jara placed a hand lightly on Rian's shoulder. It is time. Rian nodded. They turned toward the center of the room where the beacon rested inside the containment field. It floated with slow rotations, glowing gently like it was alive. It was strange to think that this small object had traveled through light years carrying knowledge from an ancient species that had vanished long before humans learned to make fire. Rian stepped closer. So what did you learn from your side? He asked, speaking to Jara. That the beacon is not only a message, she replied. It is also a test. One that requires both of our species to work together or fail. Kex snorted. A test? From a species that's been dead for millions of years? Great. No pressure. Zara ignored him and kept her focus on Rian. It chose you. For reasons it did not fully show. But it also requires a second mind linked with yours. Rian slowly turned to her. You mean you? Yes. Rian felt a sudden tension in his chest. Linking minds between species was not something done casually. It required trust, and could be dangerous if the energy flow was not exact. But he already knew his answer. She watched him closely, waiting for his reaction, as if ready to shoulder whatever he decided. He nodded. We'll do it. Jara released a breath she had been holding. Then we begin. They moved toward the large platform near the beacon. Everyone gathered around them, watching with concern and hope mixed together. Captain Saren gave a small nod. She was not a woman who showed emotion easily. But even she looked nervous. Kex whispered, If they die, I'm quitting this job forever. Lyra quietly nudged him. Shut up. Rian stepped onto the platform while Jara stood beside him. She placed her hands near the glowing surface of the containment field. Rian did the same. Their fingers hovered inches away from the shimmering energy. Jara looked at him one last time. You must relax. If you panic, the link will break. Rian took a slow breath. I trust you. Jara's eyes softened just a little. Then we go together. The field around the beacon pulsed, and suddenly a bright white wave of energy flowed toward them. It passed through their hands and into their bodies. Not painful, but overwhelming. Rian gasped as his vision exploded with color. Shapes, symbols, and fragments of memories, none of them belonging to him, rushed through his mind. He felt Jara beside him. Not physically, but mentally. Her presence felt like a calm blue light in the storm. Steady and warm. She guided him through the flood of information. Stay with me, her voice echoed in his mind. I'm here, he answered without speaking. The energy twisted around them, forming a giant sphere of light. It lifted them off the platform until they hovered several feet in the air. The others stepped back, shielding their eyes from the brightness. Inside the sphere, the alien message unfolded completely at last. Rian saw a vision of a great cosmic structure, a network connecting stars, planets, and civilizations. It was not a machine, not a weapon, and not a warning. It was a shared path, a blueprint, a way for species to rise together without repeating the mistakes of those who came before. The beacon had been waiting for 2 species to unlock it. Not 1, 2. Human and Zyran minds together completed the pattern. Rian and Zara felt the design fitting into place like 2 halves of a puzzle. The ancient energy reached into them, scanning, measuring, approving. For a moment, they saw the faces of the long-gone creators, tall beings with luminous skin, peaceful eyes, and a strange sadness. They had died out, but they had left behind a dream that others might carry on. The light faded slowly. Rian and Jara lowered back onto the platform, the energy releasing them gently. When the glow finally disappeared, both of them stood still, breathing heavily, trying to understand what had just happened. The room remained silent for several long seconds. Then Rian opened his eyes and looked around. His limbs felt weak, but his mind felt lighter, clearer, as if a huge weight had left. Jara stood beside him, her breathing unsteady, but she seemed steady enough. Captain Saren stepped forward. "What happened? What did you see?" Rian and Jara exchanged a look. She nodded at him. He turned back to the captain. "It's a map," Rian said. "But not just a map, it's a plan. A way to build something. Something huge. Something that could help every species grow and connect. It's like a bridge between stars." Kex looked confused. "A bridge? We can already travel between stars." "Not like this," Jara said quietly. "This is something greater. A shared system of knowledge. A way to prevent war before it begins. A way for civilizations to guide each other." Lyra blinked. "You mean peace?" Jara nodded. "A chance for peace." For a long moment, everyone stood without speaking. The idea was too big to understand all at once. Rian tried to put it into simpler words. "It's like they wanted us to stop fighting and start building together," he said. "They wanted us to become better than we are." Captain Saren took a long breath. "And can we use this?" "Yes," Rian said. "But only if humans and Zyrans both agree. It only works with two species linked. It will not allow one side to control it." Kex let out a low whistle. "Smart old aliens." Jara looked at Rian again, her eyes softer than usual. "We did well," she said quietly. "You kept me from falling apart," he replied. "You kept me steady," she said. Their connection still echoed faintly inside their minds, not fully gone, like a quiet thread tying them together. Captain Saren finally nodded. "Then we take this to the councils. Both of them. They'll have to work together, whether they want to or not." Lyra crossed her arms. "And public reaction? This could change everything." "It will," Rian said. "But it has to." Jara stepped closer to the beacon, which now floated in a dark, quiet form. Its energy spent. It had completed its purpose. She touched the containment field and whispered something in her own language, a quiet thank you. Later that evening, after the official reports were finished and the station slowly returned to its normal routine, Rian walked to the observation deck again. The stars shined softly beyond the glass, just as they always did. But they looked different now, more open, more full of paths that had not existed before. Jara appeared beside him without making a sound. "You came to think," she said. "Yeah," he replied. "Everything feels unreal." "It will feel real soon," she said. "When both of our worlds begin to argue about who should lead the project." He laughed softly. "Probably." She leaned slightly closer, her voice calm but warm. "You did not fail today." The beacon's words were harsh, but you proved them wrong. You showed that humans can rise. "We showed it," he corrected. She looked at him with a small, rare smile. "Yes, we." They stood in silence for a moment, watching a distant comet trail across the darkness. Jara finally turned to him. "You remember what I said the first time we met? When you stared too long?" Rian felt his face warm with embarrassment. "Yeah," you said. "So you like what you see?" She nodded slowly. "Now I see something too." "What's that?" "A human who does not just look," she said softly, "but understands." Rian felt something shift inside him, something calm and bright. "And an alien who doesn't just test," he said, "but trusts." They did not need to say anything else. The beacon had chosen them both, and now their worlds would change because of it. Whatever happened next, arguments, alliances, struggles, victories, they would face it together. Two minds linked by a truth older than any star. And as they stood there on the observation deck, watching the universe open wider before them, Rian realized something simple but powerful. This was only the beginning.